so I'm Jana Checkley. I am the Employability Advisor for the Physics Department. And we do Mondays employer talks where we come in, talk about different placements that are available. We have external people come in, talk about their jobs, talk about what opportunities physicists can actually have in industry. So not just academia and not just specifically physics research, but you could do coding, go into business, finance, medical. There's lots of different various opportunities for those that are doing physics. And today we're going to do a couple of things. The first one is, you can see from the handout that there is a survey that we'd like for you to fill out. And Nathan created the survey. And when you're done, if you can just pass them to the end and be able to collect them, that'd be great. Any questions, anything you want to say, Nathan, or you okay?
Absolutely good.
Yeah, great. Today what we're going to do is talk about the actual SEPnet placements. That's what we're here for. So SEPnet, what we do is that we try to encourage physics students to realize that we have the potential for doing quite a lot of different job opportunities. And just a brief overview for those that don't know. So SEPnet is a consortium of 9 universities, Royal Holloway being one of them. And we have myself and my 8 other contemporaries that help students doing one-to-one interviews, support with CVs, help with your application process when it comes to placements. Not just SEPnet ones, but internal ones and other external opportunities that I keep trying to publish and push out. So you may have received several emails from me about NPL placements, McVitie placements, Ultra placements. There's lots of opportunities for students. We also have a graduate school development skills project. So if anyone is thinking about doing master's or PhD, we have opportunities all the way through your academic career, if that is what you're leaning towards as well. And just wanted to give you a bit more of a feedback, not just from myself, but for someone who actually has done placements. So we've got George Harvey, he's coming down here right now. Thank you very much, George. And he's done actually a 6-week placement at the National Physics Laboratory this past summer. So he's just going to give you a bit of a couple of minutes to talk about that. Thank you.
Right, okay. Right, so I'm George. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. I'm currently in my 4th year, and this past summer I did a SEPnet placement at NPL. I'm going to talk about that, but also a bit of background as to how I actually applied, what I did, and at the end I'm going to give some tips about if I was doing it again, what I'd do, what I'd not do. So my background, I'm doing a master's, so my situation may be a little different to people in here doing a bachelor's, where you've only really got the 1 summer. I had 2. COVID came into it a little bit for my decision, but basically that first summer I didn't apply for anything, and then kind of between my 3rd and 4th year I realised I should probably do something. So so in terms of applications, I applied for 2, although I intended to apply for more, and I managed to get interviewed for both. Just a side note, this is like really high quality interview experience. Like this is probably like a great reason to just apply for loads, because like this is extremely high quality. I was lucky to have my 2nd choice interviewed first, so that served as a great practice for my first one, and I was glad to have that. Kind of got me into it. They went well, were conducted online, and I managed to get my first choice, though only just. Mine was a bit of a weird situation. By pure chance, the National Physical Laboratory had extra funding, more than they expected, so they offered another placement. And I was like 2nd in the preference list, so I got a call back. I'm not aware of anyone else, I'm not aware of this happening to anyone else. So as far as I can tell, it was extremely rare, and if it hadn't have happened to me, I wouldn't have done a SEPnet placement at all. So I'm leaving the advice to the end, but you can probably tell. Apply for more than 2, I would say, because you want to do 1 at all. So about the placement, as I mentioned, it's at the National Physical Laboratory. NPL is a government lab that focuses on metrology, which is basically measurement, and that's extremely broad. It applies to a whole bunch of things. So they've got their hands in a lot of pies. There's a gas measurement thing, there's atomic clocks. They're really into their atomic clocks. They supply time to the business district of London. There's the newly built quantum hub. I've dealt with a lot of the experts who deal with communications infrastructure. It's a lot of stuff that they do. Like in one room there was someone working on self-driving car technology. They do all sorts of things. And I got to see a lot of it because I was doing government relations, which was not so much scientific research as scientific communication. We did all sorts of jobs in that role. We did sort of briefing documents, but a large part of that was working on government consultations. Basically, the government wants to know what they're talking about when they're legislating, and NPL has a lot of that expertise. So I was essentially the middleman between the government and the scientific experts. They would advise on what they think was appropriate for legislation, and I would rewrite it in a way that could be understood by civil servants who may not necessarily have scientific education, and that would be redrafted and reviewed and redrafted. Eventually it was sent off, and that was actually really quite fun. Very much, yeah. It's not something I would want to do for several years, but I can only say that because I did this placement. Not that I didn't enjoy this 6 weeks, because that's a whole different ball game, like doing it just for a few weeks, because that goes surprisingly quickly. But I really quite enjoyed it, and NPL especially is a great place to work. It's technically an office building, but there's like a linear accelerator in one end. It's a great working environment, and everyone there is really friendly. And one additional thing that I would note, it's in Teddington, which is literally just like a few stops down the train line, so it's like you can commute from here. A lot of you are probably renting accommodation in the Egham, so you will already have accommodation like essentially set up over the summer, so you could just commute from here, and it's a great commuting experience when you eventually get a job and eventually commute. So that is something to maybe bear in mind. NPL offers regular SEPnet placements, so yeah, I would look into maybe doing one of those. I did government relations, but they do hard science, like scientific research. So I would say, I've come to this section with advice. I would definitely recommend doing a SEPnet placement. I trying to put my mind back to sort of when I was in your position. I was a bit apprehensive and wasn't quite sure if it was really something I wanted to do. With hindsight, yeah, it's actually really good, better than I was sort of expecting. It's definitely worth it. And if you're doing a master's and you're in your second year, I would say maybe consider doing it this summer still, even though you've got 2 summers, because you're probably going to appreciate the rest going into your final year a bit more. That's something that I found. So, what else? Yeah, I would say apply to quite a few, 5 or 6, probably not just the 2, because you want to guarantee that you're doing something, and you're not going to really hurt their feelings by turning down additional ones. So you're going to want to apply to more than I did, I would say, and even if you aren't necessarily interested in doing those specific ones as a career, because if you can manage labs for multiple terms, you can manage this for 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Like it goes really quite quickly, and you'll find out what it's actually like working in those positions, and you get paid for it. So I would recommend doing one. Any questions? I would be happy to answer them. But sure, okay.
Thank you, George. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Can I collect the surveys?
Yes, so Nathan's going to collect the surveys, and I'll just give you a bit more background, just a little bit more what's going on. So the 2 images up here you'll see is at the end of the placement, what we do is that we have students create a poster about what they did during the summertime. And we have an internal expo as well as an external expo. So it really also helps with practicing when it comes to public speaking, answering questions, because you're going to have external people come in ask you stuff as you get older, as you go through work experience, and that's what you'll have here. So the first one is our internal presentation that we had in T118, and we had an industrial board at the same time. These are alumni that are now in industry and from various subjects. They came in and they actually spoke with our students, asked them questions. It was a very small group, but it was actually quite interesting, and it was a great practice, because then the following week we had the SEPnet National Expo, which was in London, and there was about 350 people show up. We had the placements from our campus, as well as the other 8 universities, as well as their supervisors, as well as other external businesses come in, and it was a really big, fun-filled, busy day. And it was just another way to sort of encapsulate what they've done as a whole. Nathan, are you still collecting? Great. So to give you a bit more background, so the annual scheme, as George was saying, that it goes for second years as well as third years. So sometimes people can actually do 2 summers if they wanted to, and you are available to do both summers. And this year's scheme is actually going to also be offered to math students. We had one math student come in and they did a placement last year, and that's something that they can do as well this year. So once in a while you may have a math student come into any of these talks, just to let you know. And the projects are usually for 8 weeks, but in George's case there was an additional funding opportunity, so his was a 6-week placement. Projects are going to be circulated quite soon, actually, because applications start on the 1st of March and they will close on the 31st of March. So this is a bit of an early notification of what's happening. And one of the reasons why I'm giving you an early notification is because placements at, say, NPL or DESI, other places actually start earlier. So if you wanted to do something that wasn't SEPnet, applying now is probably the way forward. And if you don't find something that you're interested in, or you don't get that placement, SEPnet placements are in March, so you've got a lot of opportunities to find a placement in several months as well. The external placements, I do actually have updated the website today, just before I got here, with these opportunities that are currently available. I'll be talking about the NPL placements and other ones at the end of this month, so you have more opportunity to learn about that. Today is about the SEPnet ones. So, as George said, it's a great way to sort of practice what's going on, whether it's in the field that you want or sort of testing the waters in the field that you're not quite sure of, because you may not know what's out there. You don't really know what kind of jobs are available. When I was doing my degree, I wanted to go into education. I wanted to teach. Didn't really think about what else was out there. I ended up becoming in management, which was not my degree, not my focus, but it became an interest, because it's something that you learn and experience, and you realize you actually have skills in other parts that you weren't even aware of, and you're able to practice and learn a bit more. And placements give you that chance to test the waters, just to see where you're going. It is also good because it helps, because it pays. Hey. It doesn't pay an extravagant amount of money, but it does pay a good amount where you're able to then financially support yourself during the summertime. Some placements may be available a bit outside of our current area, because our different universities, some are in Sussex, some are in Portsmouth. So you may want to try placements a bit further out there, and then you have to think about accommodation, whether or not you want to rent a space there. That's why some companies actually do hybrid. They do online, because with COVID, the entire workforce has changed. I mean, for about a year and a half, people were just working from home, working in hybrid opportunities. So companies have developed ways to create projects or work with you, hybrid, online, distance learning, coming back in once a month or once a week. So there's lots of opportunities available, and a lot of our companies that are coming in to do placements are offering these chances. So when you do look for a placement and you say, ooh, Sussex, that's too far, but then if it says hybrid, you go, maybe I can do it. So just having to delve in a bit more to find out what's available. As discussed, I will be here to help you with your CV. It does help with bumping up your CV because you're going to have the same CV as everyone else in this room. Sorry. And if you are all applying for one job, and currently there are 27 of you, yours all look the same. How is yours going to stand out? By having work experience, being able to extrapolate from your academic career. I did this module, I learned this. So it shows that I don't just know C++, I worked on it in this module. I was able to create this. Direct explanations of how you learn something. So it just gives you that little bit of an edge that you may not otherwise have. Not trying to scare you, just trying to explain what's out there and what's possible. And it also is great with making useful contacts. One of the things that we do find out is that a number of our placement students continue to work where they're placed. They end up being quite close with their supervisor, and their supervisor may say, hey, there's this job that's coming up. And it is really good. We have about a third do get additional work experience in work placement and job opportunities from just doing their one placement. So it is quite a good opportunity if you can do it. Who here has an idea of the area that you are interested in? Okay, purple, what would you like?
Acoustic science and that sort of.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't actually, let me just write that down, hold on. Okay. That's nice and specific, actually. That's really good. Next to you, yeah? Medical, yes, that's become a big one lately. Yeah. Okay. You saw another hand? No? Okay. But, I mean, that's good that you have an idea of what you want, and others are not quite sure, and others are just not raising their hand, which is fair enough. But that's the great thing about physics, is that there's so many things out there. There's so many different ways of being able to meld, find out what you want. We had a person who had a placement just this summer, and they were doing geology. You're like, really? You guys are doing physics. But it's because they were working on asteroids, and they were looking at the compounds that made up that particular asteroid, which means that they were connected to chemistry. And so they now have experience in physics, geology, and chemistry, and that's what they're going to now do in their new master's program that they developed, that they're working on with internally, because now they've got this connection between departments. And being cross-departmental is also quite a viable option for those that may want to do, physics and music, things like that. So remember those things. And that's why with SEPnet, we have a lot of different ones across the board. We have medical, we have corporate. There's actually quite a lot of physicists that do banking. Did you guys even think? Did you notice? Yeah. See, one was like, yeah. Because who's creating the programs that are actually creating, who's supporting banking? Who are the ones that are actually coding for banking? A lot of times it's actually a physicist. It's not computer science. It's more yourselves because you have a broader understanding of different things rather than very focused specific roles. You've got more of a broader understanding of a lot of different topics. Optics, environment, marketing. So there's a lot of different things out there that you may not even think about until you see the opportunities available. Some of the projects that we've actually had, so analyzing data from CERN, we actually do have students that like to possibly work with CERN one day. We do have placements that are currently available for CERN that are now on the website if you want to have a look. website development, setting up simulator-based military training events. We had another placement where a person was actually just creating, well, not just, but they were creating workbooks of Python training, C++ training to secondary school and actually teaching them. Like they were practicing. He was practicing becoming a teacher. And he didn't think that he wanted to teach. And then he was put in the position, you created this booklet, great, go teach it. And so he was put out of his comfort zone and he realized this is actually something that I may want to do. And it's just giving these opportunities that are available. Bit of background as to what the SEPnet scheme actually does work. So like I said, the beginning of March is when applications start. So ahead of time, I will be sending out a list of all of the jobs, all the opportunities that are available. And you can register your interest by just contacting me directly, emailing me, emailing the summer placement general email website if you want. And when that becomes available for direct applications, then you do actually make a direct application to the employer that you want. But if ahead of time you want help with developing your CV, developing a cover letter, rather than just a general one, a very specific one to that employer, again, I can help you. We have one-to-one sessions booked with myself and Gemma Seabrook, who is from our careers services here. And you'll actually find out in May whether or not you've got placement. And placements are between June to September. And they're 8 weeks long, but you can also work with the employer if specific dates of when they start as well. So it gives you a bit kind of a flexible opportunity just in case. So like I said, how do I apply for a placement? You'll apply directly, and then you will be then asked for an interview. And interviews could be face-to-face, telephone, they could be online, through Teams. There's lots of different ways that they will approach doing an interview, and they actually are quite professional interviews because they will be treating you as an employee, you know, not a student. So it gives you that experience now while you are a student before you go into industry. So you have that edge when you do graduate. So you don't worry about how do I do an interview. You've already done one. You've probably done a few. You've done CVs, you've done interviews, you've done cover letters. You have this experience already. And that's what SEPnet and the physics department when it comes to placements are here for, to help you with that. So I talked about briefly what to consider when you do a placement is location. Are you happy to live somewhere else for the summer? Is the placement online? Is the placement hybrid? Do you want to work for a small company, a large company? Is it going to be working on your own or working part of a team? These are lots of different things to think about if you want to do a placement and the ones that are available. And as George said, apply to more than one or two. He was very lucky. He got it with only applying to two. I would recommend between 5 or 6. The reason why is because when we have these placements, we have about 150 placements available. And they are only available to those universities that have a SEPnet Employability Advisor. So that's 9 universities. And it's for second and third years. There are 27 of you now in this room. And third years are also available. So let's say 50 for just this campus. 50 times 9. How much is that? Come on, physicists. Thank you. So 450 students for 150 placements. You probably should apply for more than 2 if you're looking for a placement. Okay? Just let you know. So when it comes to the actual job, when you go in for placement, professionalism, because they're going to treat you like an employee, so probably act like it. Because the market is tough, because you want to know what? They have no problem saying bye if you don't show up. if you act unprofessional, if you don't do the project, because this isn't a make or break for them. This is giving them the chance to test the waters on a potential new employee while you are still studying. So it's a great opportunity for them, but not something that they need. It's something that they want. So there's a bit of a difference there. If you have any questions just in general when it comes to placements or CVs, cover letters, just anything related to employability skills, stop by. I'm in T114. I'm just right by the corridor. You probably see my door open as you walk right past to go to T118 to get a break. And if you're unsure about accepting a placement, if you do apply and they do offer one, talk to me and we can talk with the employer to find out what your issues are, to find out what we can do to sort of make it an opportunity that you want. There's lots of different things, and just because you've been offered one doesn't mean you have to accept it. I mean, you have gone all that way, created a CV, a cover letter, went through the interview, got the offer, but it still may not be what you want, because it may be your third choice. It may end up being too far away and you can't financially support it. That's absolutely fine as well. So just so you know, just because you've been offered it doesn't mean you have to take it if it doesn't fit with what you want. Employers, they tend to look for technical skills, coding, knowledge of software programs, data analysis, which is something that all of you should be able to know and all of you should have on a CV. So this is giving you the chance to make your CV different as you go into industry. Transferable skills, communication, being able to actually come up here and talk with you, look you in the eye, just have that opportunity to really have that discussion. I mean, George was able to show that he's got that skill. He's able to put that in a CV, and he's able to put in examples of how he did it. He did 2 different expos, an internal one and an external one. He came in and needed a guest support for a lecture. Those are all really good experiences and examples that you can put in an interview. Enthusiasm, be happy, be wanting the job, yay! If you go in like, hey, what's up? They're not going to be as happy if it's someone who looks like that they are engaged and want the role. I know, it's silly. Thank you, both of you, laughing about that. But it is true, though. You know, if you are more engaged, then that person will then copy that enthusiasm. So as we said, last little bit is apply, apply, apply. Even ones that you may not originally want, because you may end up finding out later on it might be something that you want. It may also be the only one that it accepts, because like I said, 450 learners for 150 placements. Apply early, good CV, good cover letter. Research the organization and what it does. Make sure you do that as well. Different examples of what employers have said, but impressed with the applicants. SEPnet students for the 2nd year running this year have been very impressive. Caliber of students that they've actually received. Students enable us to carry out a task on a more novel research level than what they're able to do otherwise. So it gives them a chance to look at something in a different way. And similar with George, we've got students that are giving you feedback as to what was quite beneficial for them, what worked for them. So one student said, every day you hear how hard the job market is getting, you need every bit of help you can get. SEPnet offered a chance to get valuable and relevant work experience right now while you're still a 2nd year undergraduate student. So just so you know, next steps, if you want more information that I haven't delivered for you today, please use the website. It actually has more information. And register your details either with myself or the general email address if you want to be sort of the very first ones to hear about the different placements that are available. I will be sending out blank emails as they go along, but if you want to be the first one to know about it, please register your details and let me know. Any questions? Comments? No? So next week we have Lee Maxfield. He's from Thames Water, and he was a supervisor for a SEPnet placement just this summer, and he's coming in to talk about the different types of roles that they do have available. And the following week, we'll have someone from the University of Surrey coming in, and then after that, we'll be talking more about the NPL and other external placements that are available. All right? Thank you very much for listening. I do appreciate it. You guys are great, and I will see you next week. Thank you.